New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Welcome to Ministers Talking a weekly program where Rev BRZ and Rev Z and their guests chat about current affairs, world events, spiritual principles, and any old they want to talk about. Based on the New Thought philosophy and ancient wisdoms, Ministers Talking shares a visionary perspective of the evolving spiral called spiritual living. Join us each week as we explore the emerging paradigm of life on planet Earth and beyond.
And good morning, dear ones. Dr. Robert Weedy over here.
Rev Z right here.
And this is Ministers Talking Shit for it's May 9th already. Oh my gosh, here we are. And there's a new pope in the world.
Yes. Yes, there is. And there's lots of conversation. You know, everything from the idea that there would never be a pope from the United States all the way to the Pope Leo title that he's taking, Leo the 14th. And so, yeah, it's you know, it gives everyone on the spectrum from a historical perspective of the Catholic Church and the Pope all the way down to, you know, what kind of energy or what kind of approach will he bring to the papacy, which is a big governing body in this country and across the world, really. I mean, think about it.
Yeah. Well, you don't get to this position overnight, as it were. It's Pope Francis held the seat for 12, 13 years, something like that. And you come to this type of responsibility, duty, level of service, even later in life. So it's interesting how in today's age, it doesn't matter how good the news is, somebody thinks it's bad news. I tuned in. I've had a live stream up watching for smoke, the last handful of days, and this happened a lot quicker actually than I thought it would. It seemed like it didn't take more than a day or two, which means, there must have been a lot of agreement early on and a lot of wrangling, because there were only a handful of votes, it seemed, before. Less than it takes to put a speaker in the House in the U.S. But immediately upon people, congratulations, the Pope born in America, congratulations. There were people like, nah, he's really from Venezuela. He left and he went to Venezuela, and he's a naturalized citizen of Venezuela, so we don't count him as an American anymore. And like immediately, the guy hadn't even shown,
the dude. But the dude went to Villanova, a Catholic university from Chicago. He studied mathematics. He's a mathematician. And on top of that, he's trilingual. He speaks English, and this is Spanish and Latin, which is probably one of the hardest languages in the world. That's still a lot around as a common language, right? And so, what I'm looking at, because these guys, I've forgotten what his real name was, and now I'm calling him Pope Leo, but he had a name before he took that title. And when you look at the line of Pope Leos, right, he's the 14th, my mind immediately went to, well, let me go back and see what the first Leo did. and what was his persona? Because they talked about how Francis was, to take care of the
Yep.
less fortunate, and that's why he did the things he did in terms of his casket and how he, all of that. And so I'm curious to see and compare Pope Leo the First to which by the way, Pope Leo the First was in 440 to 461. That's how long ago Pope Leo idea has been around.
Yep. Interestingly,
but more importantly, to see the relationship between him and Trump. Sorry.
Yeah. I did a quick family name search, and Prevost, his given name or his is Robert Prevost, now Pope Leo XIV, originated from the Old French meaning provost, a position of responsibility, and can be traced into the Latin meaning to place in charge. Kind of interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
You said in relationship to Trump, and I saw one yesterday, late last night. I saw one start up on the internet, a meme on Facebook, and it said, "Watch, the whole world is going to call someone by their chosen name." Yeah. The whole world is going to honor this chosen name. It's not that hard, people. Somebody doesn't want to be called by they want to be called by the name they choose. You just shut your mouth and do it. You don't argue about it. Nobody's going to say this guy's name is really Pope Robert. His name is Pope Leo, and we're going to all embrace it. It's that easy, people.
And this is what happens. We were on this America First, close the borders and all that, and I get that, right? At a level, we have to learn that life is how do you reconcile the opposites? Because the opposites will always be there everywhere you go. And so I look at like this dude, if he takes on, symbolically, he's taking on a name for a meaning, right? For a way of doing things, right? Just as a checkpoint, the first Leo, Pope Leo I, was able to convince Attila the Hun to turn back from invading Rome. Now, that's some serious persuasion if you're a student of history and you understand Attila the Hun.
Right.
And his approach to life, right? So, he may take that kind of approach to the current administration in terms of how do we help convince the current thought pattern of life that this is a they just fired the Librarian of Congress, that all the books and papers and literatures and all of that. So now, what are they going to go in there and dismantle?
Oh, we've got a fact check. I believe you're right, Linda. Naturalized citizen of Peru, not Venezuela. I'm talking about the new Pope. So yes, thank you. I get mixed up a little bit here and there. So, but before we go on to the librarian story, because if I heard you correctly, and I like it, we just lined Donald Trump up with Attila the Hun. So we got Pope Leo I going against Attila the Hun. Now we've got Pope Leo XVI going up against Donald Trump. I kind of like it. There's the 14th. There should be we need a meme. Hey, somebody call the meme department. Get the art department on that. We need that alignment. There's probably more there than we know, but yes, just like once again, congratulations to the Catholic faith. I'm interested to see what this Pope does.
Yeah.
If he is if he does follow in Francis's
Yep.
lineage as far as being a bit more liberal and open. And yeah, there's some comments about he might have made 10 or 15 years ago and all this other stuff. And over time, people change. But the thing we're not seeing change is we're not seeing the blatant disregard for the Constitution and our form of governance here in the United States by the current administration. This past week, Donald Trump said he doesn't know if he'll defend the Constitution, which is another one of those just dumbass, oh, I'm going to say this because it's going to piss you off kind of comments. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. His answer to everything is, oh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But firing the Librarian of Congress really has the appearance of another one of those moves to bury the truth, to hide the truth, to try to control what people can access as far as information. And some social media sites seem to be following suit.
Well, and you know, here's the thing. She was the first woman and the first black person, making her the first black person woman that take that job, right? She had a year and a half left on her tenure. And you think about what a library does. And I don't know if people know, you know, you can get access as a common citizen to the Library of Congress to look at books they have in the library, right?
Right.
We everything is online now, so we forget about that. But there's some things in private libraries, in places like the Library of Congress, that you're not going to find on the internet because they're not going to allow you to copy it, or the document may be too fragile to go through it. Now, eventually they'll get some radar technology and be able to do it, and they're doing it now with some things. But still, they're in private libraries; those aren't getting out. And people, just like the Smithsonian, which they're trying to tear down, they're going to do the same. People donate books to the Library of Congress to be read that are in their private collection, if I'm not mistaken. So this whole change of the way we do business, the way we look at justice, the way we look at education, the way we look at information is in threat. And hopefully, as a body of concerned citizens, we will be able to say, we cannot allow this. We understand that because there's a tug and war, we have to have balances. We have to understand how things don't just tip over. But when we start going too far to any extreme, either too far left or too far right, everything gets placed in jeopardy.
Right. Too far left, too far right. It doesn't get us anywhere. I hadn't known about. I didn't know about the librarian until this morning, and we have to protect not just the history, but we've got to protect the details of how we created that history. And again, this administration feels like it is absolutely set to destroy the history, burn the books, lock up those that know the truth, and rewrite it all, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, well, rewrite it. I mean, you know, they're getting rid of the books, they're getting rid of the artifacts, right? So theoretically, they can take away all images and dinosaur remains and say dinosaurs never existed, right? Over time, obviously, right? But these are the kinds of things. Now, that's a big example to get a context of what could happen over a long, but in a short period of time. Look at the advancement of AI. AI officially went live, if you will, November 30th, 2022. We're not even 3 years yet. The AI, as we know it, is not even 3 years old yet.
Oh wow, yeah, I guess you're right.
So that's what can happen when you provide access through Library of Congress, through artifacts, through these things. When you start denying it to some and to others, allow the natural creativity to happen, that's what you get. You get people, who can really be creative, and AI is only 3 years old. Let's give it a birthday.
That is a good question. What is the birthday? What would we consider the birth date of AI? And because let's see what AI says about it. I see.
Well, that would be ChatGPT.
Right. We're gonna say modern because Google's AI wants to say it's 1950 to 1956 when we started using the term artificial intelligence.
And while you're looking that up, I'm sure most people have heard, unless they haven't watched the news for a few days, that there's a budding war going on right now between India and Pakistan.
Yes,
Kashmir.
Got a little lag going here this morning. And my understanding is that could turn into a hot war pretty quick here.
Yes, it can. I mean, it could be that. I mean, that could be just one more log on the fire to take us somewhere I don't even want to mention. Because you see, in these countries like that, right, over in Ukraine, the challenge is now things are flaring up is these parts of the country have these what they now call rare earth minerals somewhere in those mountains that's been there for God knows how long and processed, stuff into something special. If they're on this path of, strict modern industrialism, we're going to kill the planet and we're going to kill a bunch of people trying to get the resources to do it.
Z, we've been doing this program, you and I, going on about almost 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like there are some themes that we continually face. And one of them is the destruction of planet Earth for various resources.
Mm-hmm.
And then the world gets all wondering why Elon Musk is trying to go to Mars. And it feels to me that if we could get enough people to wake up to the fact that we can't just go around ripping apart planet Earth, and then honestly building our economy on things like oil and rare earth minerals is unsustainable. Sooner or later, this planet's going to run out of oil. And I got a feeling when there ain't no oil to hold the crust together, the crust is going to start to collapse and fall. We're going to get smaller, man. Think about it. If you take an orange and you stick it into an orange and you keep extracting all the juice out of the orange, sooner or later, the orange is going to go. I'm not a geologist, but if we keep ripping the minerals out of the mountains, there ain't going to be no mountains left.
Well, this is, to take it to what we are, we're looking at these world issues in a spiritual perspective, right? and so this is what all the ancient traditions from indigenous people, as we call them, or as society calls them, that grew up on the land. They understood the meaning of cycles and preservation and taking care of, right? That's any indigenous community across the planet, not just the Native Americans or the Indians down in South America, or the Indians or Native Americans up in Canada. We're talking globally, not just the Americas. And so we've lost that connection, that understanding for exploitation,
Right.
In my opinion, because we can do some of the things that we are doing now. We can send people to the Mars, right? And having worked in the space industry for a little while, I understand that is what he's done and his team has done to shoot rockets and put them in a thing in the ocean and shoot rockets and land them back on the launch pad. That is amazing work, whoever did it. But we don't have to destroy the planet, because we're not going to be able to make enough of them for everybody to get off if that's in somebody's storyline.
Exactly. As you were sharing there, it kind of strikes me that perhaps the Industrial Revolution wasn't such a good thing. Perhaps all that innovation, and it's interesting because there is so much of a kind of an underground, well, that's not the right term, but a movement to get back to that pre-industrial life. People moving off grid. I'm thinking specifically of the off-grid communities, the prepper communities.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're still relying on technology in a lot of ways. Off-grid does not mean unplugged anymore. All right. You see these off-grid people saying they're off-grid while they're posting on their social media how off-grid they are. It's like, no, that's the grid. You just use the grid to get on. But there is that move towards a more simpler lifestyle in some ways, in self-sustaining agriculture and things that allow people to, I guess, transcend these social issues and worldly issues. I don't know that I want to transcend what's going on, but I definitely
it's transform them, not transcend them, transform them. The planet has been transforming, i.e. evolving. All life has been evolving since life started beginning, right? Regardless to what some people say of where it started or how it started. We know at one point, because they're still around, where there was one cell animals that are ancient on this planet, right? And so the whole thing is balance. That's what we from a spiritual perspective, that's what we're missing. We're missing the balance. That there's going to be an ebb and flow. There's going to be a give and take. There's going to be an up and down. And the thing is, you think about anything where you've evolved or changed or went somewhere else, you have to balance two opposing ideas, people, whatever it is, concepts, energy, and stabilize them for a minute so that you can embody it. And then once you embody it, there's going to be something else that come and disturb that. And, let's hope this current administration is disturbing enough people to look at this and say, we have a choice in this. We have to, or else we're going to, maybe not us, who knows, but our grandchildren, our great-great-grandchildren or whatever will suffer from what we're doing to the economy, to the ecology, to the educational system, to the political system. At some point, it will create an unsustainable environment.
Sucking the orange dry, exactly. I did see something that was rather promising yesterday.
Yes.
I went out on a bike ride, and and I went by a house that for the longest time has been draped in MAGA flags. Excuse me. That has been draped in MAGA flags and Trump flags and everything else. And not just one, like various sides of this house, off the deck, off the side of the house, everywhere. This thing was draped in.
Mm-hmm.
And I went by yesterday, and there ain't a single flag on the house. And it's I know it's got to be the same people, because the same trucks are there, and right, same no parking in my driveway signs are there, and so it would appear it doesn't appear the house has been sold or changed hands, or just the flags are gone. That to me was a reassuring sign.
And what's telling is this, I think the only science to living is the science of trying to understand your environment and yourself within that environment. And I don't know if this team has done the pre-search, if you will, of what they're taking all these things down. It's going to come to a head, right? Like the ships are not coming into Seattle or Long Beach or all of that West Coast ports now are going dry. No container ships coming.
Which is why Trump is trying to backpedal to 80% on the tariffs with China. And he's going to tell us that's winning. But we got several months before those ports start filling up again. Those ships don't just like magically appear in the port overnight.
No. Well, and in the meantime, all of the associated workers in that whole supply chain, from the dock workers to the office workers to the coffee shop to the farmer
drivers.
This is how stuff is going to happen.
And this is this is kind of it sparks in me. We have the both and I see in New Thought where, and you and I agree, we have to talk about these issues. We can't deny these issues. But we also can't awfulize these issues. We can't make them worse than they really are. And in a lot of places within New Thought, I see folks talking about, speaking to, this is a great opportunity. Unfortunately, it's often couched as, this is a great opportunity for us. This is a great opportunity for us as New Thought. And yes, and it's a great opportunity for a greater transformation than just getting the word out about New Thought. Because if we dig deep enough, there's New Thought with the new Pope. The new Pope brings a new thought
without doubt.
to Catholicism.
No doubt.
Not the New Thought philosophy, mind you. That would be nice. But there we go. Michael Beckwith for Pope. Let's start a new campaign, right? And get some new thought in with your Catholicism. But this concept of opportunity, I want everybody to see that there's an opportunity to transform how we do our government system, how we do this thing called legislation, how we do this work called justice. I'm sorry, but putting another Fox host TV, another Fox News TV host in a position of power as the district attorney for Washington, D.C. I mean, all right, Jeannie Pirro is a lawyer, has been elected a judge in the past, but nobody would know that if it wasn't for a fake propaganda network or a real propaganda network. It's a fake news network. And and I have a higher vision and I think there is a greater opportunity for people to see that higher vision from whatever philosophy they're in. Catholic, Jew, Muslim.
And what exactly. And but what this really, what, you know, you talked earlier about this being an opportunity, this situation that we find ourselves in, and I agree. And from the way I'm looking at it, it gives those, as has been said and so famously, those who have eyes let them see, those who have ears let them hear, that everything is connected. So we're tying this justice system up, right? All these little building blocks are being put in place for them to put a machine in place that will be very tough to break down if it gets in place. And we have to begin to be more active. We got to be more vocal. We have, and you don't have to be vocal everywhere. You can't do everything. Now you should be aware of a bunch of things and maybe go 2-3 deep on some other things. But again, it's this balance, this reconciling of the opposites, this whole thing that the universe, you know, when I would imagine, you know, talking about libraries, that Vatican library is one of the most outstanding libraries because you go back to first Pope Leo was 440, right? Back then, the most educated people, or some of the most educated people on the planet, were the monks. And as travelers started going through, that's Attila the Hun. Somebody wrote that down in some Latin or whatever, and they have those kinds of books in the Vatican Library. But that kind of a history on all this stuff, and so we have to believe, and that's one of the institutions that has been, you know, 200 years, and the whole ritualistic rigor and everything. We have to begin to look and work together and bring belonging and inclusion, you know, that's the new word. If that's what they want to call it, we'll call it that. We don't have to call it DEIB. We call it belonging. We'll call it inclusion. But we're calling it life if we want to stay on here.
Yes, exactly. So, hey, real quick here, I want to give folks a sneak peek because I'm pretty sure I saw your name on an email earlier this week. It's one of those good emails that some friends of ours did an event last fall down in Las Vegas. Reverend Elzia and I were both there, called New Thought in the Desert, with our friends at CSL Las Vegas. And they're doing it again. And I'm pretty sure my name was on the list, and I'm pretty sure I saw your name on the list as well there, Elzia. So looks like we're going to Vegas again.
I've been out of town.
Oh, you've been out of town.
Nice.
We're going back to
Vegas. Got back. I love it.
You'll find that email in the stack somewhere there. So we're going back to Vegas, folks. September 12th, 13th, and the 14th at the Las Vegas Center for Spiritual Living. The team down there is putting together a heck of a program. And I know dates, but we don't even have marketing images yet. So stay tuned for that. A lot more coming. But we want to give you that heads up. If you want to catch up with Rev Z and myself, we are definitely going to be together in Vegas in September for New Thought in the Desert. It's going to be a really, really good time. So you might want to look at those dates and make some plans now for that. Mm-hmm. More details to come in the near future. So,
because remember, the desert is where you have great visions and great encounters with the thing itself that allows a whole lot to happen.
Yes. We shall not be lost for 40 years. We shall be found in 3 days. But you reminded me, what your comment there about the monks is what reminded me of that, right? Yes, the monks had the time and the inclination to study deeply, not to just react, not to just fly off the handle at something, but to be in a place of deep contemplation and deeper study to help guide the spiritual morals, ethics of the people. And that's something we were talking about in the green room beforehand, right? We can argue against some of the things that Robert Prevost said, or perhaps wrote or commented on before he was Pope. But you don't get to Pope without being a learned person. You don't get to being Pope without having gone deep into the histories. And my belief is that a spiritual leader such as the Pope is more in that deep contemplation before commenting, and is willing to say, or that's an old thought and I have a new thought on that subject now. And we cannot judge those old thoughts because of the current demonstration shows us something different. We have a lot of people in the world right now that the name of the game is the reaction. How fast can I react? How rapidly can I how quick can I get that story out there?
Well,
and how outrageous can I make it?
That's the difference, I believe, because when just a moment on those monks, no matter which culture you go to, there was a monk class, if you will, a Jedi Knight class, if you will. Thanks for that, Wayne. That their purpose was to study and understand this magical, mystical, loving thing called life. And that from that perspective, that's what that class was, whether it was in Native Americans or African or Polynesian, all had these classes of people that help keep that balance,
right?
Balance of the force. I mean, and we have, because that's what's holding this planet in place. There's several forces that are in balance to keep us here. Your body has a balance of pH. If that pH balance gets out of line, there will be some challenges that have to be overcome or transformed. And that, I mean, the ancient Egyptians said, as above, so below, as below, so above. This correlation, this correspondence, and all of these subsystems that make up the big system of life has to be prime. We say it all the time. Life is prime.
Right.
Not an administration, not even an idea other than life, or that the one that's going to destroy life.
Yep. I've heard it said recently, and I've heard it said in a way that can sometimes sound a little privileged. But I think there is also a kernel of a deeper truth in there, in that, be it Donald Trump or be it the Pope, humanity, life continues. Just as Elzia is saying here, life is prime. It's not the forms, it's not the effect, it's that causative thought that we bring to it. Life is what is important. And we can argue about the lunacy, I'll say it that way from my perspective, the lunacy that's going on in the world. Eric Trump wearing a Trump 2028 hat is lunacy. And we can use that as the reminder that this too is impermanence. That we shall, as a human race, we shall survive this. This will not be the last pope. This will not be the last president. I pray it's the last war between Pakistan and India. I pray it's the last time that Ukraine and Russia have to go to war. I pray that Israel and Gaza and the Palestinian people will come to peace, and that we can eliminate these wars. And it's important for us to remember the opportunity is not to get caught in the lunacy, but to promote the truth at an even greater, perhaps even louder, but to a much greater degree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We, the show that you have on Friday, I'll do a shameless plug for the good news, and I think you said it was getting ready to transform. But when we look at what we do on this show, and we look at what's done on Friday nights, the good news, it is an opportunity for us to learn to balance this energy of this planet that we're trying to keep floating and civil in the middle of triple darkness, right? And so how do we begin to do that so that we're promoting life, not taking advantage of life, and those individuals that are creative, that are providing some comforts of life, if you will, they should be rewarded, but they shouldn't be rewarded to the tune that everybody else suffers.
Right.
I mean, you think about somebody that's worth billions of dollars. I mean, that money will keep working. It'll never, as long as the system holds up, you can give a ton of that away, and your 5 generations from now will still be in good stead.
Yeah. Yep. I think Brother Wayne's got it right. Time for some old-fashioned hippie hugs. And perhaps some new-fashioned hugs of oneness. There it is. There's a good call for the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm gonna invite you. I'm gonna challenge you. Go out this weekend and hug somebody you wouldn't normally hug. Now don't go out there and get yourself into a dangerous situation trying to hug up all kinds of people if they got guns or the wrong colored hats or whatever. But like, find somebody, you give them a good hug. So maybe somebody you would normally walk past, or somebody that looks like they just need it, and you don't know them all that well. But let's get back to the hugs in the world, in life. I'm reminded of an old phrase: hugs are better than drugs. Right? Hugs are better than guns.
Yes.
Hugs are better than red hats. Hugs and red are better than blue ties. Hugs are just better. So perhaps that's a good way to spend the weekend.
We know that because of all the neuroscience that they've done that looks at everything in your body, from your electromagnet to your chemical makeup, of what happens to you and your brain when someone hugs you and when someone pulls a gun on you, or despises you, or talk down to you, or anything that's not, that's overly negative. It's that negative positive battery life, and that's what we need, man. We have to understand that. I agree.
All right, there it is, folks. Go out and hug a friend. Go out and hug your neighbor. Go out and hug your spouse. Hug your kids. Hug whoever you can hug. It's a weekend full of old-fashioned hippie hugs. Around here on the New Thought Media Network, it's a Friday, and that means we have a full day of programming starting in just a few moments. Say Who Writes with Get Rich 101.
Yeah, and hugs for Mother's Day.
And hugs for Mother's Day. It's Mother's Day. Yeah, don't forget to hug your mom if you can. Morning prayers are at 8:15. Morning sip at 8:30. 9:30 is the Spanish language programming. Our premier programming starts at 11 with the High Vibe Hour. Just One You with Reverend Barbara Jean is at 1 o'clock. Divine Science Everywhere happens at 2 o'clock Mountain Time. Later this afternoon, it is the good news. And as Rev Z talked about, the good news is going through a little transformation. I'm going to be there this week, and Reverend Barbara Jean is going to be our primary host moving forward. So she and I are going to be swapping off back and forth for a few weeks, and you can expect her full time later in June on that. And of course, Friday Fireside Chat happens at 6. So please stay with us. Join us throughout the day here on New Thought Media Network. We're running even longer than overtime today, so I got to shut up and get out of here. Until next time, we wish you peace and richest blessings. Bye now. That wasn't even set up for the exit. There it is. Now we'll see you later.
And thanks for listening to this week's episode of Ministers Talking. We'll be back again next week with more commentary on current affairs, world events, and any other our ministers want to talk about. And if you found value here, please share our with your friends. Until next time, peace and blessings.